Alright, yeah, I just want to basically do this video, talk about mental health and how it relates to work or work-related activities. This is something that has troubled me a hell of a lot in the past and still does, because part of my condition means that, it's very difficult for me to um, kind of work full-time or work in a job, that would bring about a lot of stress in me. So this is something I think face when it comes to mixing with people and stuff. The number one thing I feel, aside from my mental health problems, I've kind of accepted myself for hearing voices, for what goes through my head, my weirdness, my all the kind of weird OCD shit I've gone through, or my voice hearing, all the main symptoms I've had with my schizophrenia. I've kind of accepted myself and loved myself and had compassion for myself for all those things, and I've accepted that in myself. So the number one kind of thing I kind of feel that gets in the way of my confidence in relation to other people and how other people treat me is not being totally financially independent. I'll tell you, so I want to do a bit of kind of like a video on that, really, to let people know the kind of difficulties people like me come across when it come against when it comes to like working full time or being fully independent. For years now, I've done so many hours. I've done years upon years of voluntary work, and that's my way of giving back to the world. That's my way of having an activity which I feel I'm valuable and have a purpose and can give something to society. I'm definitely not a work shy person. I do believe that activity and contributing to society as part of the world is best for the individual. If someone is well enough, mentally or physically, to do something for society, I think that benefits the individual as well. Whatever that is, obviously it's about finding something you can do and like to do and want to do. But when I first come out of psychiatric hospital, my confidence was completely rock bottom, and it wasn't until I started volunteering, doing voluntary work, and I felt a part of things, and I was giving something back, I felt I was doing something productive. That's when my confidence started gaining again. And I've gone through periods of for a few months and a year. 2010, 2011, I was really quite well, and people were expecting more of me then to try and get some part-time work or something. And I found that every time I kind of tried to make that step forward into trying to find some paid employment, I would get ill again. And a lot of it is through my own condition, my own thinking. But whenever I go under a certain amount of stress, I start hearing voices again and getting very, I suppose, confused, scared. I have a lot of catastrophic thinking. I have my symptoms re-emerge of like intrusive thoughts, hearing voices, going extremely paranoid in things, and what I learned from my times in the mental health system and that is basically I am responsible for my mental health, and I need to do what I can to protect it. And all last year in the summer and spring, I was dealing with all the ATOS stuff and benefit assessments, and that literally it brought on a relapse I had last year, where I put on a lot of weight. I was having intrusive thoughts again, hearing voices. I wouldn't leave my flat for days sometimes because I believed people in my area were plotting against me. I've been feeling like an enemy. Well, a lot last year and recently, I've been feeling like an enemy of the state because the media and the government are just totally attacking disabled people and poor people, which is completely wrong. I've been listening to a lot of what David Icke's saying about how, and other people like that who talk about how the government and the media get the public to blame each other, like blame the immigrants, blame the Muslims, blame the poor, blame people on benefits, blame this, blame that, and it basically more or less divide and conquer. Do you know what I mean? It's stopping people from focusing on on real change, and stopping people from focusing on trying to make the world a better place, or blaming the people who are really pulling the strings, and blaming it on someone long-term unemployed who's probably got zero confidence, from the world around, maybe from their family partly, and also because of how society has treated them, and they've got zero confidence. They might be well enough to do some work, but without much support and encouragement, how are people gonna make that leap without the right support and training and things to do more? And people like me with schizophrenia, I mean, yeah, do you know what I mean? It's a really tough thing. If I get under a certain amount of stress, if a certain amount of stress comes on to me, I start hearing voices again, and my illness comes back. And I've stopped seeing my social worker now, because every time I saw him, he's just been on about, you've got to find some paid work, you've got to find some paid work. And I feel like for the past 2 or 3 years, I've been doing as much as I possibly can. And I've literally, I think I've gone under a massive kind of, started suffering from massive fatigue, because I pushed myself so much in the last couple of years. Doing my poetry, I've been supporting my mother, I've been supporting my friends, been doing tons of voluntary work. I've been writing my poetry book, I'm working on my second book and things. And me and a lot of people I know are massively conscientious about contributing to society, about doing something productive, about trying to find things in life that justify our existence, because that's what a lot of people like. A lot of people in Britain and a lot around the Western world, they're kind of like, if you're not in a profession or working somewhere, they almost feel like your existence is not justified. It's like money is God to these people. There is nothing more important than money. If they're spending money on, your living, it's not even them, it's the government who's controlling the money anyway. But a lot of the kind of right-wing rhetoric is, it puts money and work in the most absolute, above people's value of life, And I'm very, very well qualified to talk about the difficulties people long-term unemployed, people with mental health problems, people with drug addictions and drug issues. I've met so many people, and I've met loads of people over the years with these issues, and are friends with people with these issues, and so I know massively about the difficulties people face with drug addictions and mental health problems, with long-term unemployed. I know a lot about it, and I know that these people are not wicked people who are, purposefully going against the government and the state and trying to just bum their time away and not bother doing anything. Most of these people, struggled at school. They might have been bullied. They might have not got on with education. Might have issues with authority figures and things. And I'm not saying that. I believe voluntary work, community work, being involved with the community, being involved with something productive is a very valuable thing for the individual. But the way the government make out, as if the British government at the moment are making out like they're treating everyone as if we're all as capable as each other, and there's a massive spectrum of issues that people have when it comes to being in work, keeping a job, and things like that. And so this attack on the poor people, attack on people on benefits and things is really out of order, basically, I think. Obviously, there's loopholes in the system, and some people might have abused that. And I think I've heard stories of people who have abused the system. But the media are making out as if it's like, 90% of people on benefits are just blagging it. 90% of people on benefits are just swindling the system. Do you mean it's just completely false and untrue? So this is an issue that affects me massively, and I've kind of like almost got an obsessive neurosis about it over the past couple of years, about really beating myself up all the time. And I'd love to have a career. I'd love if I'd had a good education and fell into a good job and things, and stuff like this. But I do, when I'm well enough, I do as much as, I am a massive, valuable member to society and the community. Volunteered at a place called Green Geek for years, and they're like a computer refurbishment non-for-profit organisation. I've done mainly the cleaning there, but I've done admin, odd job work, like advise them on things and stuff like that. And it's great. It's been great being a part of a team working there. But after last year being so attacked, feeling so psychically and psychologically attacked by the media and the government, Atos and everything, I just really feel like hiding away. It's actually really stunted my own mental health and my own path, really. But yeah, I'll go into more things that stop me. Do you know what I mean? If I'm volunteering, if I have a bad week, a bad month where I'm hearing voices, where I'm mildly psychotic, where I can't get out of bed, I won't. I can still eat. I can still have a roof over my head. If I'm working in an paid employment and I start getting stressed in the work, I start getting ill, I'm cut off, and then I can't. I lose my money, and really, in a civilized society, there should be security for people who have severe mental health problems, to make sure that they're not forced to get ill again, because it's in the interest of the whole society, interest of the government, interest of the public, that people with severe mental health problems and severe disabilities are treated well. It's the same as, pensioners and old people. They've worked, people who've been alive all their lives, either worked or been disabled or whatever, or struggled in every way. People who reach the age of 60, 65 should have a decent quality end to their life, a decent last 20 years or 15 years or whatever, where they don't have to, struggle in poverty and have to be forced to do things they don't want to do. And, it just seems pretty mad. I mean, we give all our power away to the governmental bodies, who really, a lot of them don't. They're not very clued up people, really. They don't have a lot, like, loving compassion at the hearts of who they are. They don't understand. Especially, in my view, the Tories don't understand what it's like for the average person or the poorer person who struggles feeding their kids and feeding themselves and struggles getting to a job. I mean, I've heard many people say, like Owen Jones, who I love, is that for the working class people, there's not the secure jobs there anymore that there used to be. People used to go into a job and they'll be put to the job. They'd have sick pay, holiday leave. Their job would be secure. They would have put their they might have a football team, they might have canteen, they have a union and things back in the 70s and 80s. And nowadays, people are given 0-hour contracts, treated like shit, all for the benefit of managerial classes, the managerial professional class, who are pulling the strings and everything. And it's really top heavy. I call it kind of top heavy dynamics, where the managers and the bosses and the stockbrokers and managerials and the people pulling all the strings on these big companies, they're benefiting massively from all these changes, where the average person is massively suffering. And anyway, yeah, so I'm just having a rant. But what prevents me a lot from, feeling okay about myself, because I'll happily live the way I'm living now for the rest of my life. I do my voluntary work, I contribute that way, and voluntary work is massively, massively, massively important for so many charities, and many charities do a lot more work than any company does, or any, even a lot of governments. Charities do massively great things. For all sorts of different people, vulnerable people, for the environment, for animals, for all sorts, learning disabled people, people with mental health problems, environmental issues. Charities and non-for-profit organisations are there doing the work, the government should be supporting. And so voluntary work is massively understated. And people like me, I know I've got many friends, and I know people locally with mental health problems a lot, who all they feel they can do is kind of 2 days a week volunteering, or a few afternoons a week, doing what they can. And to know, the average person who works full time 9 to 5, they might think, oh god, they're hardly doing anything. But when you've like been institutionalized or on medication for a start, and you have reoccurrence of these symptoms that can be extremely destructive, I understand it's hard for those people to understand it, and so they blame people, and they see them, getting up late or not doing a lot when they're in town. They're not looking smart, and they don't seem that they're in a normal job, and people like me get judged massively for that. But I have done as much as I possibly can while dealing with my own condition to do what I can for the community, society, and to, in a sense, justify myself for the support I get and things, you know. But yeah, you know, I start hearing voices. My voices re-emerges from under much stress, even if I'm like get up. If I was to get up 6 a.m. You know, for a long time, and you know, being in a workplace all day for 3 days in a row, I would get ill. I mean, this is an example for you. In 2011, I went and did some woofing, which is willing workers on organic farms, and I was there for 2 weeks, and we were getting up about, I was getting up about 7 o'clock, no, about 8 o'clock, going for breakfast about 8:30, have half an hour breakfast, and I worked till 5. And after 3 days, I started getting psychotic, and I had to ask the people if I could have some time off. And I was hearing voices, I was going delusional, I felt completely outside of my body. I was having the beliefs again that I was being persecuted by aliens and other entities and things, and this kind of like deep-rooted trauma in my psychosis, and this condition of schizophrenia, which is no laughable thing. It's not like someone, you know, oh, he's only got schizophrenia, don't worry. Schizophrenia is the worst mental illness you can possibly have, basically. For most people, on a global level, on a national level, schizophrenia is the most debilitating. So if people look at me and kind of think, oh, you know, oh, he seems alright, you know, they just don't know what you're on about. Schizophrenia is a major thing. You lose who you are. You don't, the person who you are, and in your mind, in a full-blown psychosis, completely broken away. You don't know how to function at all. That your voices, your delusions take over your complete life, and you have no control over your functioning in society, and you just lose. I mean, people suffer immensely. I mean, it probably compares to being tortured in a torture chamber or something. The kind of sort of things schizophrenics go through in their minds, and for people to sort of like look at people and think, you know, are they all right? You know, they're dealing with massive conditions, and the government needs to be sensitive to these things. And I know it's hard times with the recession and things, but we're supposed to live in the 21st century where there are some sort of civilized treatment of people with vulnerabilities. I mean, years ago, people like me would have been locked up in asylums out of town for all our lives. And some people I've spoke to actually have many praising words to say about places like that. And other people have massive horror stories. And so, you know, it is a mixed bag. But what I basically want to say is that I feel massively persecuted by the media and by certain people in the public and by the government for not trying to do more, where, like, I have a massive conscience about what I do and what I contribute, and I do what I damn can, and I put a lot of effort into the people in my life and doing voluntary work. So if people, you know, blaming me and having a go at me for not doing what they do you know what I mean, not being able to hold down a full-time job, well, I just gotta laugh at it now, because I just can't be asked to stress myself out about it and feel less than them for not being functional in that way. I mean, I love to contribute through art and poetry and other things that fulfill me and hopefully help boost someone else's life. That is part of what I try and give back, as well as my volunteering and things. Anyway, yeah, so end of rant. Sorry if I've bored you with a bit of that. I just had to get it off my chest a bit, because it's something that troubles me a hell of a lot. Yeah, and if you've got any thoughts about it and how you feel about, you know, if you understand people with mental health problems, or if you think you have a mental health condition and you struggle with the same thing, then yeah, let me know. Alright, thanks for listening, and I'll hopefully do another video soon. Thanks.